Good afternoon. You're on the Ian Dubé Show. Today, I've got the pleasure of having with me today on the show, we have Al Claiborne, nutritionist, fitness expert to the stars, along with Gwen Lau Johnson, USA Track and Field chair. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. How are we doing today?
Great.
Gwen?
Very good, thank you.
All right. Well, hey, it is track. We're right in the height of track and field season today. We've got the Masters Championship going along. We've got some news back. Some of our Georgia athletes are really doing a great job of doing their thing. Leslie, who is one of Mike Spino's athletes, has won the women's 400 meters, and she is trying to actually do a triple, win the 800 and the 1500. Eric Merriweather medaled in the 400 meters, so definitely those good guys and girls are doing their thing. Well, of course, we've got AAU down in Orlando at the club championships, and we are getting ready for USA Track and Field's Junior Olympics, which will be held next week in Greensboro. So I'm excited. We got a lot of good stuff going on. And one of the new things that we've got going on is Kendall Williams, athlete extraordinaire, is on her ways to the ESPY. She is the 2013 Gatorade Athlete of the Year, the first Gatorade Athlete of the Year coming from the state of Georgia. So that's just a wonderful, wonderful thing. So great things are going on in the state of Georgia. So today, our topic is eating your way to the podium. You know, we always think about training as something that we do, that the coach gives the athlete the stimulus, the athlete responds to the stimulus, but there's other aspects of training too, because we've got the nutrition piece, we've got the recovery piece, we've got the mental piece. So today, Al, we're putting you inside the oval to talk about that. So,
okay.
You know, my first question, I'm going to just get it out of the way. Every athlete seems to be looking for lightning in a bottle. They're looking for the anabolic effect through foods.
Right.
I mean, through nutrition. But they're taking shortcuts, and they're actually trying to get nutrition through a bottle. So how is it as exercise physiologists or nutritionists or trainers, can we help our athletes get back to the basic? Because I'm in the true belief that all your nutritional requirements can be obtained through food. So that's the first question I'm going to ask you. How can we get it? How can we get that anabolic effect through food?
Okay, all things considered, you have to look at nutrition from a comprehensive approach. You have to take a comprehensive approach to it, and with all things considered, create the environment for these nutrients to really work. Meaning that if you are going to, you got your athlete on their training program, you have to consider what type of training you have them doing and what foods are going to support that type of training. If you are in the strength stages of your workouts, you know that protein is important for the building blocks to help with recovery. And then you have your other considerations like inflammation from the breakdown of muscle, and then you have to consider the whole detox the body of all the breakdown of these nutrients, or in these throughout this process. You're going to have a lot of inflammation. So one thing you want to create is a comprehensive nutrition with rich vegetables, rich in vitamins and minerals, fruits as well. You want to look at lean protein sources that have great sources of fatty acids, and you want to look at the quality of your carbohydrates, clean burning fuels, and make sure that they support the comprehensive approach that you take into the training, meaning that they do a lot of different things so that when you serve a meal, you don't have to have them overeating for the nutrients that they need to support their training, if you understand what I'm saying.
Okay. Let me step back just a little bit. You talked about the quality of carbohydrates.
Right. The quality of carbohydrates, meaning your carbohydrates that are going to give you the vitamins, the minerals, the fatty acids, the protein that your body requires. Your complex carbohydrates, millet, barley, oats, grain, whole grains, vegetables, cruciferous vegetables, your broccoli, cauliflower, asparagus. They have great sources of antioxidants, which really help reduce inflammation from all the training that you're going to require. Along with the complex carbohydrates, going to give your muscles fuel, and they're going to feed the muscles even after the breakdown happens. You have to have enough carbohydrate there to replenish the glycolysis of the energy that you're going to be using on the next day of training. So it doesn't happen just instantaneously. Your body is constantly manufacturing foods into usable energies that it's going to utilize the next day of training, along with, for lack of a better word, the medicines that your body needs to use to repair itself from all the breakdown.
So, Gwen, did you get that? Well,
yes, I had it on mute. Yes, I'm here.
All right. So, actually, Gwen, this is actually one of these deals where you actually are very interactive. Now, I'm going to step back here, and I really want to give Al his proper introduction. And, Al, do you want to kind of discuss or go over your background? I was talking with Kevin Young, and there was a green light that was going off in his head. He said he knows you from somewhere. He knows you from somewhere. But let everybody in the audience know, who are we talking to? Who's Al Claiborne?
Okay. Well, I'm considered, my background is bodybuilding, strength training. I have a history of, my competitive years started at 14. I started competing at 14. I've been competing all the way up until my 28th birthday, I think it was, and I'm 50 now, but I still train. I've been considered trainer to the stars because I've worked with a lot of industry folk. I've got my degree in nutrition. I have my certification in nutrition from the American College of Sports Medicine, and I've been on the road working as a professional cook for most of my clients in the industry, in the entertainment industry. So I wrote a cookbook with Gladys Knight. I've done a host of different things as a consultant for healthy cooking shows, and working on my second book through my FitFX. I don't want to call it an empire, but it's my FitFX projects. And now I'm working with professional athletes, boxers, fighters, MMA people, and now track.
Okay. So, Gwen, what questions do you have for Al?
Well, thank you, Al, for sharing your background. It sounds like you have a very vast background, and I think it's very important for people that are involved with athletics to kind of have an athletic or some type of touch into it, because it really helps to make that transition to what we really go through as being an athlete. Probably the biggest question would be I'll start with women. A lot of times, they can get hypercritical about their weight and where they need to be as far as the way they look on the track. My question is, how much should they be eating? I mean, is there a base of calories? And let's just break it down to a sprinter versus maybe a middle distance runner. Would they require the same amount of nutrition per day or in their training regimen? That would
depend on the level of training that the athlete's going through, but first it would be the profile of that athlete. You would have to consider, and without being too scientific, I don't want to get into oxidative profiles and all that, but you would want to look at the basic BMI of the athlete, without knowing what the basal metabolism is, and that's a whole other test. But you would look at how much muscle mass you have to support through nutrition, meaning not only performance but recovery. You'd want to make sure you have a buildup of glucose or glycogen in the muscles. You would consider what would that take to replenish that athlete. You look at the height and the weight scale of that person and body fat composition. Those are a little sophisticated, but I've only been dealing with that level of sophistication in my training with my clients. I do a body fat composition, consider the weight and height of that person to get a real schematic on how much I need to feed them. Because otherwise you could be overfeeding them and you could be undernourishing them. So that's the basic. Because you wouldn't feed a woman that's 5'7" the same as you would someone who was 5'2". I would feed what's the young lady's name? Alex and Felix. Alex and Felix, very different than I would feed a long jumper that might be of your height, 5'7". You understand what I'm saying? I don't know her height and her weight, but she's not a very statured woman. She's very small statured. So it'd be different in the type of how many calories I would feed her and what those calories would consist of. So without sounding too vague, I would basically make sure that most of the food groups were covered. I would make sure that she had ample amount of protein for her height and weight. I would make sure she had the right vitamins and minerals through fruits and vegetables. The whole grains would probably be somewhere around 60% of her diet because she's a runner. And the other 10 and 40% would be fat and protein. And without getting too complex in that, we'd make sure that the fatty acids, the fatty acids would be your omega-3, omega-9.
Well, hey, we're going to cut to a commercial break, Al. We were breaking up just a little bit, and maybe we can do some technical troubleshooting on your side. So we'll be back.
Bags by Coach George, proud to announce that we now carry a full line of track and field equipment. We are working in conjunction with MF Athletics. Go to our website and view our new Puma catalog at www.coacho.com.
All right, we're back. Al, you there? Gwen, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, Al, are you there? Okay, I think we may have lost Al. We'll wait for him to call back in. But one of the things, Gwen, we did want to get into is we wanted to start talking about nutrition from the youth end. And I think Al opened it up as looking at the density, the height, the stature, and the nutritional requirements of each athlete. So, which to me, I think is incredible in making sure that, back in the day when your mama said, eat all your food, and they fed you they fed you like you were your big brother, or you look so skinny, they overfed you.
Work 10 hours a day.
Right. So let's see if we can get Al back on the phone. It's going to take a pause for the call, so hold on just a minute. All right, we're waiting for Al. Let's see if we can get him.
Yo.
Al, we got you. You're back on the air, and we've got Gwen with you. So, hey, I wanted to go through our agenda, and literally let's start talking about the importance of nutrition. We've got a big youth audience here. And one of the things that we discussed before we got on the call is how do we navigate through this fast food world? We've got kids out there training every day. you've got mom and dad that have to drop the kids off, balance their lifestyle, and try to get the kid fed. And the easiest thing to do is stop off at the Golden Arches or the King or Long John Silver's. So how can we negotiate nutrition through that fast food environment? The stimulus is all over the place. It's hard to stop at a family restaurant.
Okay. Now, I'm kind of getting an echo in the phone. I kind of got the gist of what you said on the last part of it. But you're saying, how do you make sense of fast food? I mean, how do you get the best out of it?
Right, and we're still having, I mean, I can hear you. I don't have a problem hearing you. And Gwen, can you hear Al?
I hear him, but it sounds like he was a little...
Right. So I don't know if you're on a... Yeah, I don't know if you're on a cell phone, but...
No, I'm on a landline. I mean, I hear you great, but I'm hearing it's kind of an echo, kind of weird, strange echo.
Okay, maybe Gwen and I can mute your phones, but ultimately, how do you navigate nutrition through a fast food world?
Okay, well, that's a tough one, only because there's so much wrong with fast food. But if you had to make the choice, you would want to go with the leaner prospects, vegetables and fruit, whatever they served on that. If you're feeding your kid, you want to try to keep the fat low by maybe asking them to do you the favor of not adding cheese or not adding, or maybe even toasting the bread instead of just giving you the regular bun. Possibly even maybe cutting half of that and just going with half a bun instead of the whole sandwich. Reducing fat wherever you can, cutting out, like I said, the butter, having it grilled dry, having it definitely staying away from all the fried elements, because regardless of what you do, you're not going to find anything good about that. As a matter of fact, it's going to hurt more than benefit you. And that's pretty much what you got. Most of your fast food restaurants are trying to get on the healthier tip by having salads and other options. Some of their reduced calorie, heart healthy menu items are now coming to the forefront because of our diabetes, the issues with diabetics and kids. So that's pretty much your options right there.
Now, typically, from what I see, when I'm driving and seeing the fast food restaurants, I also see a grocery store.
Hello?
I can hear you. I have a question now. What about smoothies? Excuse me. Another option. Say I'm out. I have a 14-year-old, soon to be a 15-year-old, and there are times that we're out, and I will opt to stop and get him a smoothie at one of the chain smoothie stores versus like a Whole Foods. What's your take on smoothies, and what would be the best ones to get on the run?
Well, on the run, it could be your high protein smoothies, and even some of your vegetarian protein choices. You might want to go with for your kid. Kids are the metabolic dynamos. They can do a lot with the protein smoothies and the natural ingredients. If they're using frozen fruit and going with a skim milk base type smoothie with a casein protein or whey protein, that's great. But when you start adding sugar to it and the syrups that some of the other concoctions may have, you're getting into not only a higher calorie, but you're getting into a lot of sugar. And sugar for young athletes it's just as bad for young athletes as it is for older athletes because of the what sugar does. Sugar is a very corrosive product to have in your training table, and it's really hard for kids to maintain focus because of the bonking aspect of sugar.
Now, let me ask you this. Okay, so we've got sugar. So how is it?
Basically, the ones that have syrup, we need to stay away from the ones that have syrup in it and stick with ones that are more
the ones
naturally. Go ahead.
Yeah, the ones that are sweetened naturally, just with the frozen fruit blends, instead of adding sugar to it or adding the flavored syrups. It's better just to go with the frozen fruit with with whey or casein protein and skim milk.
Okay, so now Al, so now here we are. We're in this world, because that's if I can get to the smoothie shop, which there are not a whole lot of. But what about in between those fast food restaurants? I see a plethora of grocery stores. I see Kroger, Publix, Sam's. How can I get there and find at least the superfoods that can, one, sustain me through practice? That's one thing. And number two, post-recovery or even during my training regimen, something that can mitigate the training effect or help me start the recovery process. I guess that's my point, the way I look at it.
Okay, well, for the most part, most of your grocery stores, grocery chains are they're in great competition with one another to make a lot of your pickup type foods available. And now that there's such a drive on nutrition, they're paying close attention to that. You can go into the produce section and find pretty good salads now that the deli will put together. I mean, chopped peppers and spinach, and you got a lot of choices now that you can put together. And you can even add some by picking up some sunflower seeds, a little bag of this. If you know what to do, you can put together a pretty healthy meal out of a grocery store. As a matter of fact, I would probably choose that first before going to a McDonald's. It could even be faster.
Okay, so give me the specifics. Give me an example of something that I can put together or pick up on the way to practice and have my child ingest this in their system, and they be able to negotiate practice at the most optimal nutritional level as they can muster at the time. What is it that they can take in between? Because the whole allure is everybody wants to be like Mike, so I want to have a Gatorade or I want to have a Powerade right in between. I don't know if I really want to have water. Then when I leave practice, I know there's a window of about 30 minutes where I need to start my recovery process and facilitate that until I can get to the dinner table. So what is it, those examples? Because those are pretty key in maintaining optimal performance at this point.
Okay. Well, if you're on your way to practice, of course, you want something that's going to break down pretty quick. So if it was me feeding my child on the way to practice, they say life is a bowl of cherries. Bowl of cherries. A bag of cherries is the highest in your antioxidants. It gives you a good boost of energy, and it's great for recovery. There's no antioxidant more powerful than cherries. And then you can grab a small container of skim milk for after workout, and maybe a little bit. That could be chocolate milk, by the way. Chocolate milk is really good for a kid after work as an after workout pick me up.
Okay.
So, yeah, they're great. They're great sources of carbohydrates and protein, and it replenishes your muscle tissues, and that's what you need after a workout. And if you're talking about a quick fix, that's the quickest fix, most bang for the buck before workout, after workout, meal before dinner.
Okay. Now, in between, during practice, let's say we have we've got a tempo where we know that recovery is short, we're going to tap their carbs. We're going to tap that system, that energy system. So we're looking at the specific energy systems, which is, glycolytic, alactic, and aerobic. So what is it that I would give if we're going to start doing some ballistic and sprinty explosive stuff that I can have the athlete ingest maybe before, during, and post practice? On the glycolytic, we know that we have an acidic buildup. How do I neutralize it with a alkaline or alkaline diet to neutralize the lactic acid effect? And with our aerobic type activity, what type of foods can we use pre, post, and during, that sort of thing? What are your ideas there?
Well, among the best pre-workout, pre-phase foods for runners, the highest alkaline, almost all carbohydrate would be your banana. I mean, that's the best in between, and you right before workout. If you're not using the cherry suggestion I gave you, bananas is the next best thing. It packs a wealth of about 400 milligrams of potassium, and of course that's what your nerves need. And it's a ready-to-eat food. It's not in a package. It doesn't have any preservatives. I mean, it's a natural sugar, but your body's going to use it almost as soon as it's delivered. So it's the best in between that I could think of.
Now, would that be for an aerobic athlete, an anaerobic athlete, or a glycolytic athlete? Which group would benefit the most, or all of them benefit equally?
Well, you got to consider how much time it's going to take for it to break down in your system and your body to utilize it, if you're talking about the in-between. Otherwise, nutrition is really about your day by day, because you're going to be utilizing most of those nutrients. You're going to be ingesting those nutrients that you're going to need the day before, prior to. So you're going to be more concerned about your nutrition the day before your training. But if you, for whatever reason, you're behind the 8 ball, the banana is the best choice, whether you're an anaerobic or aerobic athlete.
Okay. So I'm on my way to practice.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, like I said, the parents get out of work 5:30. Practice starts 6:30, 6 o'clock.
Okay.
Kid may be at home, may not work during the summer, but, they're home doing their chores. I pick them up on their way. So what I need, so you're saying is I need to have a bowl of cherries available and negotiate or get them maybe 2 hours before practice to eat a handful of cherries or a banana in order to prepare for today's practice, because I'm also perspiring a lot. It's very hot and humid now. I know I'm losing nutrients through my perspiration. Where I'm trying to get or understand myself personally is how can I mitigate the environmental factors that I'm going to face? How can I mitigate the stimulus that I'm going to face? I know I can do it much easier before, which is pre-nutrition, the day before. And that's really going to be a post-recovery from what I gave them on the same day. So how can we start? What are some of your ideas in regards to putting those what are those superfoods that we can put or make sure that we put in the array of diet to help the athlete negotiate the training cycle and basically get to the podium through nutrition and or support that anabolic effect that we know that our athletes are trying to achieve through lightning through a bottle?
Okay, I'll give you a couple of different scenarios. If we're talking about picking the kids up, I'm in my SUV picking up the kids, taking them to practice, and they need some pre-workout meal, they need a during workout snack, and they need something after their training. A scenario like that, you're going to do good with your bowl of cherries, you're going to do good with your banana, and you're going to do good with your milk, your skim milk, as a post-workout pick-me-up. Now, after after the work, the day before that, when you talk about dinner should definitely consist of a salmon dish with a cruciferous vegetable like a broccoli, a cauliflower, or asparagus. You want to make sure that you have another complex carbohydrate on that plate. It could be a sweet potato, and then you want to make sure that they hydrate well. And when you're on a training table, it's not that you eat a variety of foods if you got really picky kids, but as far as a dietary plan, that's very, very broad, and I can just give you a whole list of great power foods that you can.
Hey, Al, we're starting to lose you again. I don't know. Gwen, can you hear him? Because I'm starting to lose him, and it's starting to get really, really good.
Yeah, it was getting good. I was taking notes here.
Well, what we're going to do, while we get Al back again, we're going to go ahead and cut to a commercial. So we'll be back in just a few minutes. Thanks.
Bags by Coach George proud to announce that we now carry a full line of track and field equipment. We are working in conjunction with MF Athletics. Go to our website and view our new Puma catalog at www.coacho.com.
Well, we're back, and I am placing a call to Al. Hopefully,
we're sorry, your call could not be completed.
All right, we're gonna wait just for a few minutes here, and we'll get Al back. But Gwen, I don't know. I was starting to take real specific notes because cherries they're starting to come into season right now, and I'm looking at my wife was eating them earlier, so I'm interested in how cherries can help us here because. I've really never thought of that. Now, bananas, I've always incorporated in the diet, but cherries, I don't know. Have you ever used that yourself?
I've never used cherries. I love berries, raspberries, blueberries, strawberries, but not cherries. That is very fascinating. And the thought, I was also thinking, does that also include dry cherries?
I don't know.
During those, I'd be curious to ask him that. During those times that because it's a seasonal fruit, would dry cherries be included, or could we, I'm a smoothie person, could we blend some cherries on off seasons, when they're not, and maybe give them combine with the cherries with the skim milk. And use that as a snack. So for me, my mind was just really racing on different ways to pour that out over the course of a season,
right? And
over the entire year with that seasonal fruit,
right? And plus, maybe we could even freeze them. I don't know. So let me see if I can get Al back here. See if we get those technical difficulties washed away. So we're waiting on Al. Here's the phone.
Oh.
All right, Al, you're back here. Well, technology is not always the best, but, hey, we're doing our best here. And, I was just talking to Gwen, and we went to commercial break, but you got us all intrigued here. I'm at the edge of my seats. I'm writing notes here. My question to you is, okay, you say cherries, one of the secret top superfoods. Now,
okay.
Is that any different for the different age groups? Because we've got an open division athletes,
right,
which go from 18 to 35, and then we've got our masters athletes from 35 to 100. And I know a lot of times with our middle age, which is our 18 to 35, they're not necessarily concerned with nutrition as someone who may be up there between 35 and 100 plus years old. So can you talk about that or the differences in the nutritional requirements?
Well, it's not that different. It's what's amazing about some of those items that I mentioned to you, cherries especially. For any age group, cherries are probably your richest antioxidant you can get. I mean, top fruit on the earth as far as nutrition is concerned. today. I mean, there's a lot of studies still being performed, and the data is not all in. But cherry is one of your most potent antioxidants you can get. It contains large concentrations of antioxidants, and it provides a host of health benefits, ranging from healthy blood vessels to prevention of cancerous tumors. I mean, all those equate into a healthy immune system. A healthy immune system means that your body's recovery is even better. I mean, it has such a broad spectrum in what its capabilities are in the human body. It's phenomenal. But for the most part, as far as an athlete is concerned, it's mainly there to reduce the amount of strength that's lost to training and muscle soreness. It helps your body recover a lot faster from the damage that we do when we're training. So there's a lot of studies out there that's proven it. And I'm always looking for the edge for my athletes, but cherries so far has been the top of the list, along with kale as a green leafy. It's been one of the best green leafy vegetables I've been able to compare with spinach and broccoli. I mean, it's got high concentrations of vitamin A, B6, C, vitamin K, and loads of iron and calcium. I mean, those are all the things that your body really needs when you're looking at heavy duty training. I mean, it takes care of low grade inflammation, resulting from a heavy training schedule and the damage that we do to our bodies when we train, and it helps deal with a lot of chronic issues, inflammation of the joints and things like that. So as your best anti-inflammatory foods, cherries, kale are the best. When it comes to skim, talking about pre or post-workout pick-me-up, your body requires more protein after that, but even better, a protein-carbohydrate combination, and that's why I chose skim milk to be my level 3 superfood, because it's high in both carbohydrates and proteins, and it's great for giving muscles what they need, especially in nutrients like glycogen. I mean, glycogen is what allows bears your muscles during heavy training, heavy workouts. So, skim milk is definitely beneficial in that. Bananas is a fast, absorbing carbohydrate. It's almost all carbohydrates. A lot of sugar though, but it's great that just before workout, kind of pick me up, where you need something to kind of give your stomach something to do without upsetting it. It's a banana can have up to 30 grams of carbohydrates, and 400 milligrams of potassium, and that's what you lose when you train. So
let me ask you this, Al. Going into what about my lactose intolerant brethren and sisterin? What alternatives outside low-fat chocolate milk may be an alternative for them?
Okay, a lot of your almond, rice, soy milks, they're adding protein to those combinations to suffice it, but you don't quite get what you get what you get from the real thing, but it's you can still get it, but you have to kind of look at a different source of getting it. And vegetable proteins after a workout is okay, but it doesn't absorb as fast in the system. It doesn't have, it doesn't come with the enzymes that nature provides when it's been dehydrated and ground into a powder. I mean, we lose some of that, but at the same time, it's a good alternative.
Now, in our last 5 minutes, what I wanted to talk about is paralleling your nutrition plan with your training regimen. Ultimately,
Okay.
now we're in our championship mode.
Okay.
All right, we've got world championships coming up for our elite athletes. We've got the Masters Championship that's going on this week, and we've got the Youth Championship that's going on next week in Greensboro, and then the Masters finish up late or sometime in August at the World Outdoor Championships that's going to take place somewhere in Spain, I do believe. So how can I parallel my nutrition requirements to basically eat my way on top of the podium and peak at the right time?
Okay. Well, time is of the essence, and nutrition is just like anything else. It's part of the building blocks of, from the beginning to the end. So wherever you are in your game, nutrition is definitely going to play a factor because that's your fuel. That's what you're using to perform. You can make sure that your performance is optimum through some of these tips that I gave you, earlier. But to optimize it, you want to consider how much muscle mass you have. You need to understand that fitting nutrition into the activity is important. So endurance athletes, anaerobic athletes are going to require, a different training table. Meaning you want a little bit more complex carbohydrates for your anaerobic athletes because they're going to be using a lot of glycogen. They're going to deplete a lot of glycogen. Your endurance athletes are going to need a lot of mega fatty acids. They're going to need a lot of healthy fish oils and nutrients that provide that. If they're vegetarian, they have to eat high concentration. You find high concentrations of that in their vegetable sources and in their grain. So it's very different depending on the type of athlete you have. Your shot putters, your discus throwers, they require more protein because they're doing a lot of weight training right up into the event. So a combination of amino acids that they could make benefit. They could have the benefit of using will help bolster their performance. Potassium for the explosion of nerves. All that's good stuff. But you got to look at what the athlete needs, and there's several different types of programs you can put together for that, but they're very vast in their suggestions. I can't really cover that in just a few words. There's a lot of power foods out there, a lot of things that they could take advantage of, and to do the work and to make it sensible for them. You want to consider muscle mass. You want to consider the scale of the athlete, and then how many kilocalories they're using for the performance, and make sure you put it back in usable form.
Now, let me ask you this, Al. What is it? How can I determine protein to carb ratios based on the athlete's size? Is there a formula that I can use when I look at one of my athletes and say they're more heavily musculared or they're less heavily musculared? They're endurance athletes that typically are leaner, slender, and not so much mass on them because we know that doesn't necessarily work for them, where my ballistic athletes have a greater mass, typically more heavily musculared, but not too much as a thrower. How can I utilize it? How can I determine that? Is there a simple formula that I can use to determine my protein, 8 ounces of protein versus 2 ounces of carb or whatever?
Simple formula?
Yes.
I wouldn't say so simple. I mean, there are places you can get that. What you want to get is what they call a basal metabolic profile, meaning that it's, a lot of your universities, a lot of your colleges will have that, but they basically do it for free because it's a part of their teaching curriculum. But if you don't have that aspect, a lot of your gymnasiums or fitness trainers can do a body composition by doing, a body fat test to find out how much lean muscle mass you have, and then you want to break that down to how much protein is required to maintain the muscle mass that the client has. And there's a formula for that, and it's basically 1.5 grams of protein per pound of body weight that you use that. But then you're going to look at, hydration of that, and you look at glycogen, requirements, glucose requirements for that amount of muscle mass. If you were trying to do like a loading component to that.